Hi guys, Remy here again with another video. Today I will revisit and talk about the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus and how it stacks in 2019. I personally think this is one of the best value phone right now out there. So let's get started and find out why. So as always, I will first talk about its specs for some refresher and in terms of how they perform in 2019 and then discuss its pros and cons. And lastly, my conclusions on why it's the best value phone right now out there. So for the specs, first is its display. It packs a 6.2-inch Super AMOLED display for the Plus variant and a smaller 5.8-inch screen for its little counterpart, the S8. For its resolution, it has a 1440 by 2960 display and an aspect ratio of 18.5 by 9. Which is still the golden standard for smartphones these days. It has a 529 ppi or pixel per inch density, which is super good even for today's standards, and is still one of the highest ppi displays even up to this day, competing with the latest and greatest. It goes to show how good the S8 Plus even after 2 years and 2 generations behind, because you still get top of the line display even challenging some of the newer smartphones out there. For its chipset, the S8 is equipped with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 835 chip for the US variant, or the Exynos 8895 chip for the international variant. In today's standards, the Snapdragon 835 chip, or its Exynos counterpart, is still one of the best out there in terms of real-world performance. Of course, if you place it side by side with the other latest smartphones, there would be a slight delay, but let's be real. A split-second delay in opening tasks, loading browsers, playing heavy games, and other applications is okay, because you do not feel it in the real-world usage, and you're already saving yourself $600 to $700 instead of buying new one. So additionally on paper, its chipset runs a Geekbench result of 1941 for its single-core score and 6386 for its multi-core score. In comparison, the latest Galaxy device, the S10, has a rating of 4314 for the single-core and 9818 for its multi-core. So that is quite a difference, right? Yes, but only on paper, because in real-world usage and speed tests between the two, the S8 Plus isn't far behind, and sometimes equal the speed and power of the S10. If you have the time, you can check videos of the two in speed test and see for yourself the closeness of the result, which makes you hesitant in spending the extra $600 to $700 in the newer phone. Next, we have the software. Out of the box, it comes with the Android 7 Nougat, but can be upgradable to the latest version, Android 9 Pie. This is another reason to get the S8 because you still are able to get the latest updates, which is a deal breaker for some in buying old flagship phones. You still enjoy the software and security updates in the S8, and in addition, you get to experience their new Samsung One UI. I will make an entirely separate video about it, but basically it replaced the Samsung Touch Wiz and Samsung Experience. It basically is a new identity and interface, which is a mile better than the previous ones. Gone are the days where people disregard Samsung for its crappy interface and experience. The Samsung One UI on top is centered around one-hand usage for the convenience of people with small hands or who are fond of using only one hand. And my favorite part is its redesigned interface where you have better icons, a true dark theme option, better transitions and effects, and overall better experience. So moving forward, the next spec is its battery. Out of the box, it has a 3000 mAh battery for the smaller S8 and a bigger 3500 mAh for the S8 Plus. What's good about the S8 is that even up to this day, it performs excellently in terms of battery usage. I would average between 5 to 6 hours of screen on time. It is nothing but an extraordinary experience. I would basically charge it in the morning while I prepare, do my usual activities the whole day with moderate to heavy use of phones like mobile data, Wi-Fi, games, a little music, and lots of social media. And when I come home, I still have around 30% in the evening. This is truly amazing, especially since Android phones in general are known to be super fast drainers of battery, wherein you just place it on your pocket for an hour and it drains up to 10%. But those were the days. And we are now on an era where the battery is one of the strengths of Samsung, because it boasts its battery not just on paper with a huge 3500 mAh, but also in the real world usage. You can check other YouTubers and see the exact same comments. The battery on this phone is simply amazing. I expect to use this phone for the next 2 to 3 years and never have to worry about its battery. Next, we have its camera. This phone is rocking an 8-megapixel front camera and a 12-megapixel rear camera. For its front camera, we still have the usual Samsung front camera, wherein it tends to over-enhance your face to the point where it doesn't look natural. And in my opinion, the quality of its selfies are inferior to other phones such as the Apple or Pixel. But luckily, I seldom use this for selfies and mostly use the front camera as mirror or playing around, not for producing high-quality selfie shots. But for its rear camera, it's on a completely different level. Now, this is not a camera review, but I will just say this. The rear camera of the Samsung S8 Plus is amazing. It takes amazing and high-quality photos and videos. I literally shot my entire Taiwan trip using this phone and results are mind-blowing. Its 12-megapixel sounds small on paper, but where Samsung shines is its image processing, together with its 1.7 aperture for low light, its 4K capability up to 60 frames per second, and its optical image stabilization. You can produce top-of-the-line photos and videos, wherein other average people would ask if this was shot on a DSLR. It's that amazing, and I have all the nice words for its camera. It's simply still one of the best out there. Next are the minor ones. It has a rear-mounted fingerprint sensor, in which by today's standard is pretty average and nothing special. There's still a couple of misreads here and there, but overall is a decent fingerprint sensor. The only downside is its placement, which is also the comments of other people. But personally, if you get the hang of it, you can locate it easily with no problem. Next is the headphone jack. It still has a 3.5mm headphone jack, which is a rare find today. A lot of flagship phones have ditched it, and I applaud Samsung because even up to this day, a lot of people still use the wired headphones, especially audiophiles and people who cannot afford Bluetooth headphones or who are clumsy and always lose their Bluetooth earbuds. So this is a plus because Samsung listens to its customers and still incorporate it even up to this day in the S10. Next is the charging port. It has a USB-C charging port, which is a plus point because having the USB-C enables you faster charging on top of the already fast charging that Samsung offers. It charges from 0 to 100% in only 1 hour and 30 minutes, which is amazing. Also, personally, having the USB-C enables me to plug in my charger with ease as it can be plugged in both sides. Gone are the days wherein you have to closely look on the tip to see the right side on where you should plug the port. Lastly, the USB-C enables the phone to be future-proof, as the industry is in full shift to the USB-C standard, which is great as the S8 won't be obsolete in the area. And for those who are fans for the wireless charging, the S8 also features wireless capabilities. I personally do not use it, but it is good to have, and I know a lot of people use this feature, so props to Samsung for including this amazing feature. Next is its storage. It has a 64 gigs and 128 gigs option. This is great considering that its base storage is 64 gigs because in this day and age, 64 gigs is enough ever for average users. Below that, and you'll have a hard time in deleting apps and pictures or videos just to free some space in newer or more important ones. So the 64GB base storage is good for me. Next, it has an IP68 water and dust resistant certification rating. For me, this is an underrated feature because a lot of people do not talk about this. But for one, I know its importance in a sense that it is a lifesaver. There will always be a time where you will accidentally drop your phone on a pile of water in the toilet, in the sink, or get soaked in the rain. Also, there are other countless instances where you'll unconsciously place your phone in a dust-filled place. These instances may be rare, but can happen and will happen to anyone, and if you're in your right mind, having this feature protects your phone from permanent damage. This is part of the reason why I chose old flagships over new mid-range phones, because this feature is rarely on the mid-range phones and for me is a red flag. I would want the assurance of my phone being safe all the time with the water and dust resistant. Lastly, the Samsung DeX. Now let's not get into that, but basically it turns your phone to a computer by connecting it to a monitor. But I haven't tried that feature as I find it more of a gimmick. So that's the specs of the S8 Plus and how it stacks in 2019. For its pros and cons, we made it in a list for comparison between the two so you can personally decide which has more weight and more important. For its pros, we have 10 pros for the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. It has the Edge or Infinity screen which resembles futuristic and bleeding-edge technology design, while still maintaining its minimalistic approach in terms of a glass slab sandwiching the metal edges. Next is no physical home button. What this means is less chance of having a mechanical failure or a damage in the physical home button, replacing it with a haptic feedback that mimics a real home button. 3.5mm headphone jack feature. Like I mentioned, this could be a deal maker for a lot of people who especially still use the wired headphones. Wired headphones are the real deal in terms of rich and full audio experience. Latest Samsung One UI and Android Pie. Also, as mentioned earlier, this deserves to be on this list because a lot of avid Samsung users would want to experience the latest and greatest software, which is the One UI, but without having to shed a couple $100s. So this could be a selling point for the S8 Plus as you can experience One UI still with flagship specs without the extra payment. Next is Gorilla Glass 5 protection because we all want our phones to feel that premium look. We always look to glass phones being the golden standard of premium and high quality materials. Having the Gorilla Glass 5 ensure the users of extra protection. Long-lasting battery. This is notable mention because one of the risks of buying old flagships is the tendency to have degrading and poor battery performance. Luckily, the S8 Plus seemed to not be in that zone because even up to this day, 2 years in, the battery is still near pristine, same as how I bought it. If you want to check your battery health and its real percentage, you can go download AccuBattery and calibrate the battery by charging it. And in this way, you can see your real battery capacity. Mine is still at 3100 plus mAh or around 90% battery health. Not bad for a 2-year-old phone. Great price in 2019. The S8 Plus is one of the phones that depreciate rapidly in the first 2 years. This is, in my opinion, the best time to buy flagship phones, especially the S8, because you get to enjoy an almost brand new phone with prices already at half of its original price. Gear VR capability. So this made the pros list because although I'm not into it, virtual reality is already mainstream and is making huge strides and noises. So having this option enables you a futuristic aspect in your phone. Samsung Pay feature. This may be one of the biggest pros because a part of us going digital and cashless. Samsung Pay enables you to pay using only your phone and nothing else. You can add your credit card, debit card, and gift or membership cards to your device. This enables a hassle-free transaction right in your phone. Additionally, Samsung Pay works in more stores than any other mobile payment service, and it's still safe with several layers of security. Micro SD slot. Lastly, micro SD card because we all love extra storage and for any apparent reason, other phone manufacturers decided to ditch this. Thankfully, Samsung still features this and is one of the pros of getting this phone. So that's the pros of the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. Along with the pros of the device, we have minimal cons, which we will talk about next. So for its cons, fingerprint sensor on odd place. This is one of the few cons I truly believe the S8 Plus has. Its fingerprint sensor is oddly placed beside the rear camera, which gives an unpleasant experience for people. A lot of people tend to smudge the rear camera, being mistaken as the fingerprint sensor, as there is no significant distance or separation between the two. Next con is that it is hard to find screen protectors for its edge screen. Although it is sleek in design, having Edge or Infinity display gives a hard time finding the right screen protector or tempered glass. A lot of sold protectors or tempered glass does not fit well. If it miraculously fits well, has a messy adhesive on the sides, but most of the time the edge doesn't stick well. Luckily, there are still good ones out there like mine which you should find. Cartoonish selfies. So I included it here because we are in a day and age where selfies, goofies, and the like are a thing. And although this may not be a big thing for me, it is still quite nice to be able to have a decent selfie camera that I could maybe use for future references, or for documentations and memories of my family and friends. So that's about it for the pros and cons. You could argue that the pros truly outweighs the cons, but it is still a matter of preference. Lastly, we now reach my conclusions. The Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus is a great phone, arguably my favorite, and here's why. I truly value the type of phone I purchased that justifies its price. In relation to this, I simply do not find a compelling reason purchasing a phone worth $1,000 or more when I can practically get 80 to 90% of its features on a $300 to $500 old flagship phone. And I specified old flagship because it outclasses and beats out any newer mid-range because it simply is worth that amount. While the old flagship is built to be $1,000, but just rapidly depreciated in value. So with all of these, I concluded that the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus, being an old flagship but still having 90% of the S10's features, is the best deal I could get for a phone. It's the best bang for the buck, and I truly and proudly recommend it to you, and to anyone who wants to get the most out of what they pay. So that wraps it, guys. That is my review of the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus in 2019, and why I recommend it. Hope you like it, guys, and if you do, please leave a like. For any comments or suggestions regarding my video or any related stuff, please do comment down below and I will gladly reply to all of you. And lastly, if you want more content about tech and travel, you can click the subscribe button and the notification bell. Thanks again, guys, and stay tuned for my next videos.